that made all this possible. You've embraced me and allowed me to become your favorite TV uncle. And for that, I'm forever grateful. You rock with me when you knew very little about Shannon Sharpe, the guy that could come out here and talk. Hopefully you found me entertaining. Hopefully you find me educational. Hopefully you found all the things that I gave you that you looked for when you came and you turned in and you watched me and this man for 7 years. And last but not least, Skip Bayless. You fought for me, bro.
Did I?
I'm here because of you. You've allowed me to share the stage with you. You've allowed me to share the platform. I'm going to cry in the car, but I'm not going to cry now. The opportunity that you gave me to become what I became, I'm forever indebted to you. I'll never forget what you did for me. You've helped me grow more than you ever know.
Okay, this is not easy for me either. But
one more thing before you go, Skip. Okay. One more thing. All I ask is when you lay your head on that pillow at night, you know I gave you everything I had.
You did.
I gave you everything I had.
Which is why I want to thank you for...
Is that it?
Yeah, that was it.
Wow. What's the first thing that comes to mind watching that, Ashley?
His suit jacket is really tight.
Right up in here, right? Right up in the armpit.
I'm waiting for it to rip.
He gets them tailored, man,
He
but they
is
look so tight.
You asked me my first thought, and the jacket's
All right, stop.
yellow.
We're done with you.
You asked me my first thought.
You are cold-blooded. You are different.
How am I cold-blooded?
What's wrong with you?
You asked me my first thought, and that was my first thought. I could not stop looking at his jacket. It was so tight. I was waiting for it to rip. It just was insane.
Woo, come on. You're our emotional leader.
I will say, as a fan, I was an actual fan of Undisputed. I was there for Uncle Shay Shay and everything, and I think it's the right time. I think that he actually has stepped into his own. He started Shay Shay. He has a voice. And I think the way he concluded it there was actually nicer than I thought it would be, especially because it's kind of him and Skip having the problem, not him and FS1.
Allegedly.
So, yeah, allegedly, I guess. So I thought he handled it well, always professional, always dressed well. I think he's going to go straight to the top after this.
Well, it's interesting that you say straight to the top, right? Because, yeah, I mean, it's like where does he land next? Is he going to go to an ESPN? Is he going to go to another network? Amazon, who else are big players there, like spinning. But any of those, you got Spotify's of the world. But there's a huge opportunity for him and so many other people in this space to create their own and be owners of it. For so long, as athletes, as creators, as entertainers, we create and we don't own what we create, right? Like his podcast, he had to negotiate for that. He didn't own that. Like FS1 owned that. Okay. I'm almost positive there. I could be off a little bit, maybe. This is some of the information I got from other people internally when I was there at FS1, right? Because like FS1, for years they've been trying to put out this network and compete in this podcast space, and it comes with the contract. Okay, well, if you do a podcast, we own it. And I just feel like guys like him, even Stephen A. Smiths of the world, think about that. Stephen A. Smith makes that show. Shannon Sharpe, he started to make that show. So now you take it. Now can you do that in your own space where you have ownership? You think we'll follow? I think we will. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I look at some of the people that's in this space now, like up and coming, and we talk about it a couple times. We've talked about it a couple times, and I'll continue to salute them. But I feel like, what Cam is doing in Mace, if they can find a way to stay in that pocket and bring it together, like, man, that's scary. But like that, you know what I'm saying? There's a few people in this space that can really disrupt and do some dope stuff. Ashley, now that we're past the yellow jacket, is there...
You asked me my first thought.
I know. It's so good. But, it's going to be interesting to see, Ashley, what Shannon does. Because, this is like a scary time. But it's the time for us. Like, you can literally get a bag just on Instagram. Like, Fat Joe literally went live like every other day or every day. And then he started getting big deals, and more things start coming just doing Instagram, right? He didn't have to go to this MTV or BET. He did it right there in his damn living room. So I'm not sad that this is ending. I do remember, like, when I feel like he broke through is when he started to incorporate the Hennessy and the
Black and Miles.
Yeah. And that's when he became like the uncle and everybody's favorite. But there is some real stuff there. I know you said allegedly, Ashley, but I think there's some real beef between him and Skip Bayless. It's good.
Allegedly.
Why? Because we got to cover ourselves by saying allegedly?
Mm-hmm. Allegedly.
So what do you think? What do you think the situation is? What ended this? It was just time they did it for 6 years. It ran its course, or is it real beef?
I think I said this on this show. I don't think you were here. I think that when you have a debate show, people can get really passionate about their opinions, right? But I think that in every debate show, the foundation needs to always be respect. Because people are going to get passionate about their opinions. People are going to get passionate about the things that they say, they believe, and they're going to stand 10 toes down. But if you have a foundation of respect, it never crosses certain lines, certain barriers. And I think that with this show, there came a point, a turning point, where the debates that they were having and the energy that was being projected to each other, lost that foundation of respect. Mm-hmm. It started to hit below the belt. It started to be a little bit like, ouch, that was unnecessary. Like, that hurt. And I think that that's where it became a point of no return. And especially when you're dealing with men who have played professional sports, there's an ego there. And I think that for Shannon, being a former football player and having that ego and having that, personality about him, and Skip, having the ego, like, this is my show, I built this. Right. I mean, remember, he brought Stephen A. onto First Take. That was his show. Yeah. And then he brought Shannon Sharpe onto Undisputed when he went to FS1. So his ego is tied to something different, not the sport, but like, this is my domain.
He's the boss.
I'm your boss.
Right. Oof.
I think at one time they were able to coexist in that space because there was that respect factor there. Yeah. Somewhere along the line that was lost. Yeah. And now it's so you can be grateful and thankful for the opportunity, but it doesn't change that you feel disrespected, that you can no longer exist in that working environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what happened. At least that's how it appears. I think it started with that, what was it, Tom Brady thing? It was,
Tom Brady, and he was hot. Where he was like, Skip, hot. He took off his glasses. He always wanted to take off his glasses. How you disrespect me to uplift another man?
Yeah.
Skip. You know what that me was? I'm your friend. When he said that me, he was saying, I'm your friend. Like, how could you just degrade me?
I think it was the Tom Brady thing. I also think it was the Damar Hamlin thing.
There was another
time. And then
time.
when Shannon started the show off, and he was trying to get his monologue off, and he was trying to also give Skip the opportunity to correct, his mistake, and to kind of, rectify that. Skip took that opportunity to say, the bosses don't care. They're not mad. We spoke about this. Why are you putting, it was very defensive.
Yeah.
And I think it was, those situations happened so closely back to back that I just think that it started chipping away at that respect.
I will say this too, though. And I know this is your favorite uncle.
And also, I hope you say it, I also think Fox didn't like some of the things that Shannon was doing. I don't think it's all Skip.
Some of the things like what? I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say that.
Because
I was going to say, before you go, I was going to say, he put himself in this position, Ashley. Like, you can't play both sides of the fence. You can't one day be, the fraternity, the player, and then you talk about the player the way you talk about the player. Outside of LeBron, he be going crazy on some players. And I just feel like the way he approached some of these situations and topics is not what we should do. Like, I can hold you accountable.
Right.
I can debate and call you out, but from it's hard to explain. Like, when you've been in those seats before as an athlete, you know the deal. You know what we deal with. The shit that nothing get out. Like, come on, bro. You can't go out and do that. And to me, he went all the way there. He became Stephen A. Smith. He became Skip too many times. And all he wanted to do is protect this guy right here, the GOAT. That's it. So
I think also outside of the Skip thing, I think that, and Brandon, you'll know, you worked for FS1. Fox is not a bar stool in the sense of, well, that's a bad example. Fox is not a FanDuel or a DraftKings. It's not a. It's not that open to certain things and certain behaviors. And if you dive into Fox and who owns Fox, and they've done
things
they've done things a certain way.
Because there's FS1, then there's Fox.
Yes,
okay.
But they're all under the same. They're all under the same family.
Right.
So
that's why you got to own your shit.
When you think of Fox has always kind of just the conglomerate of Fox. They have done things a certain way. And that way doesn't allow certain flavors and behaviors to be accepted. And I think outside of his contention and the lack of respect, I feel like with Skip, which I think is factual, I think Shannon was also very, I'm Shannon Sharpe and this is me, with the Black and Miles and the Henny and get into the fight at the Lakers game and things like that. That's not what that brand is. So for those higher ups, it starts to not only you having a contention with our moneymaker, which is Skip, because he is that Undisputed brand, which is their flagship show. That is their moneymaker. But you're also not representing our Fox brand the way that we like our Fox brand represented, which is why I believe they bought him out of his deal altogether. If it was just a Skip thing, right, they could have found another place for him.
That's real bold because, you know, when you think about the space in the competitive landscape, you got ESPN and then there's really no competition, no outside of like, you know, new media. And then what do? They go get the top dog in new media, Pat McAfee, that's like small little competition. But, you know, you got FS1 sitting here trying to compete. And now you lose Shannon Sharpe, who probably was the face of not only FS1 from a daily standpoint, but that show. Mm-hmm. Like, how the hell do they survive? And I know there's talk that our guy, Shady, supposed to go in there. And I like Shady. I think this is perfect for him. Like, he likes to debate. He likes to argue. Like, it's natural to him. You know what I'm saying? But those are big shoes to fill. I don't know how this whole FS1 fucking thing continues.
I mean, you worked there. Did you feel
corny?
Did you feel that you had the freedom to be your authentic self, or do you feel you had to be yourself within the guidelines of what Fox represents?
There was a few reasons why I left, and I'll talk about two. One, there was people, you know, the way they talked about the athlete. Never forget Kawhi Leonard, and I shared this story before. So it's easy for us to knock down Kawhi and debate Kawhi. Oh, he's late to the plane, or when they arrive on away games, he has his own little separate entrance or his own little locker room. He has a stretched person coming here, the privileges and all of that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so the way we were talking about it just crossed the line. You know, a lot like I was just talking about like Shannon at times. And then I'm looking at I'm looking at the guys that's having these debates and talking about Kawhi Leonard, and I'm like, you not even on fucking time. How you gonna go out there and talk about this dude the way you did, personal attacks? And you got us holding us up every morning at 5 a.m. I ain't respect it. I got off of one of those calls. I said, yo, y'all call my agent. I ain't coming back. Right? End up coming back. It was a lot of money. I wanted to finish it out. And then the second thing, Ashley, every time we had a big situation, anything, the Sean Watson news break, the league, Black Lives Matter, all these things happen. They're like, all right, guys, all the talent, you got to go talk to this one guy. What are you going to say? What are you going to do? It's like, y'all ain't do this for the last 3 months. Now, all of a sudden, you guys want to, filter what we about to say or act like, like you just want to be aligned. So I couldn't rock with that. But that's what comes with that space, though, in those spaces.
So, like I said, I think it's a combination of things. I think it's the skip and him lacking the respect, but the telling thing for me is the fact that they bought him out of his FS1 contract altogether. That's not a skip thing. That's a bigger picture thing.
But could it have been that Shannon stepped up and was like, "Yo, I just don't want to be here. We got to figure this out."
It could be also. He could just have been unhappy altogether. But I feel like, I don't know. I feel like if I was walking away from a show that I was part of, but I still had my own show within the network, I don't know if I would walk away from that, because it's not like I have to interact with that person who I'm having contention with. But I don't know. That could be a possibility as well. Right. It could have been a mutual agreement between the two parties. That's always true.
Ashley Nicole Moss, Brandon Marshall here, Corey in the cut. We got Woo Out West. We took a left here to talk about some things in the news. I thought that we should hit that Shannon Sharpe's last day.
I wish him the very best, though, in his new endeavors.
He'll crush it. He'll do
wherever
a phenomenal
he may
job.
go.
Honestly excited
Him
to
and
see
his
what's next for
jacket.
him, yeah.
He'll crush it. You know, I mean, what he's making, like $5-6 million at most at Fox, at FS1.
I don't know. That sounds like a lovely paycheck, though.
Right.
It is, but his podcast alone, he can go make that, if not double, if he does it right. He has the right people around him. You know, he's getting some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment. His numbers are insane. He just had D-Wade on, and already he's probably pushing 1 million views. Mm-hmm. He's doing a great job there. So if he can figure out how to monetize that, yes. I mean, Pat McAfee walked away from FanDuel, a 3-year, $120 million deal. Gilly and Wallow, $1 million worth of game. It's reported that, you know, they had a $100 million deal with Barstool. Barstool just sold for $600 million. There's a lot of money in this space. So
Did you see the D-Wade episode?